Today is Saturday, September the 8th, 2018. Hello! Welcome to Weekly Astrology Notes for the week of September 9th through the 16th, 2018. Highlights for the week. Well, we've got another very big week ahead. This might be the big week for the unsealing of all those indictments. And that's because the big aspect this week is Jupiter sextile Pluto. The exact on Wednesday. Now this aspect has been ongoing since January. It's all about making constructive changes and reforms in your life. Now this is the third and last pass. It's the point of culmination for changes basically you've been working on all year long. And the Sun and Mercury complete the picture with positive aspects to this Sun sextile Jupiter, making this pass one to really remember. As well, on a geopolitical level, this is the culmination of efforts to make reforms, and this may also lead to police actions because Pluto and Scorpio, which we've got on both ends of this aspect, both rule police actions. And on the same day, exact within a couple of hours, is going to be Venus opposition Uranus thrown into the mix, and that connects in the Mars square Uranus, this whole T-square with Venus, Uranus, and Mars. And that's all promising to reveal the human rights abusers and causing a lot of chaos and upheaval in society. And all at the same time, Saturn is in a great position. Saturn trining Uranus and sextiling Venus on the same day as the Jupiter sextile Pluto. So that puts authority in the perfect position to take advantage of all of this chaos and upheaval and not go down with all the rest of them. So all three aspects are happening on Wednesday, both the Venus aspects along with the Jupiter sextile Pluto. And I'm thinking if we're going to see some movement on unsealing those 45,000 or so sealed indictments, then this should be the week for that to happen. And we got to think about all the creative energy coming forth. Starting on Tuesday, that Sun sextile Jupiter and Sun trine Pluto. Both aspects are going to be in the morning on Tuesday. It's going to be a really lively Tuesday morning. A lot of creative energy, bringing opportunities to bring success in your life, enlisting the help of others. Could be a very lucky day, although not for those who've been abusing children. And that leads into the big day on Wednesday with the Jupiter sextile Pluto and the Venus aspects. But there's even more. On Thursday, Mercury opposition Neptune asks us to consider the spiritual reasons for why things are the way they are. We might have a lot more to consider this week. And yet more. You know, the weekend looks fantastic for Mercury lovers. We've got Mercury trine Pluto on Saturday. That's going to bring good mental focus and clarity, skillful use of your talents. And then Mercury sextile Jupiter on Sunday enables us to connect the dots, see the big picture, brings a little optimism. And like the Sun aspects earlier in the week, it's all intertwined with the Jupiter sextile Pluto. So get ready for a huge week ahead. This week is the culmination of this year's efforts to make constructive changes in your life. For me, once again, I'm going with the flow. I've got a 2-day course in medical Reiki training happening on Saturday and Sunday. So this most definitely is the culmination of my efforts to bring alternative healing methods into my life. Now this is something I've been encouraging folks to do since last November when Jupiter entered Scorpio, and that's been a really great thing to do because the Scorpio energy is all about healing and regeneration, and with Jupiter going into Scorpio, we should be opening our minds to that kind of alternative healing energy. So we're headed for a big correction this month. Now, I should mention, starting last week, I already talked about all of this stuff with regards to the new moon that's happening on Sunday the 9th, which I'll go over briefly as well. But generally speaking, I'm thinking it's time for the indictments to be unsealed. Major players in the deep state going down. And as I tweeted earlier this week, maybe George H.W. Bush, if I got a little time on this video, I'll go through his transits as well and show he's getting the same transits as Aretha Franklin and John McCain, only much stronger. So I'll leave the daily description, excuse me, the daily summary for the description. So let's just get started with Sunday the 9th. And we just got so many aspects to go over this week. And the stuff for Sunday the 9th is included in last week's report. So if you want the full details on that, please go back and review that. I'm just going to kind of go over it basically here. On Sunday the 9th, Venus is entering Scorpio, and it's going to spend 3 out of the next 4 months there due to retrograde action. So it's going to be spending a lot of time there. We'll be swimming in the deep end of the pool for a while. It's basically what I'm saying here. It's in its detriment in Scorpio, and it's going to bring up a lot of stuff related to this T-square that it's involved in. And like I said, you can go through that, some of this stuff from last week. And then the new moon. That's going to be happening on Sunday. That'll be at 17 degrees of Virgo. It's always a great aspect. Takes on a lot more significance this month because of all of the concurrent aspects. It's just this really big point of culmination. You know, the Jupiter sextile Pluto, these grand trines in Earth, the T-square. It's all there in the new moon. So overall, I would say it's a really important time, a big adjustment this month. So I want to emphasize that Virgo is precise, and these positive aspects that we are getting are going to give us a lot of opportunity to succeed, to utilize our skills, to let them come out into the world, and possibly enlist the help of others, and just give us a lot of energy for healing and regeneration, and opportunities to merge with the collective, connect with others, and make changes on a collective level. And you can really be part of that. And I think probably the most important thing to emphasize is that in Virgo, health and personal hygiene is an absolute must. You know, you really want to be healthy, otherwise any gain is short-lived. You need a strong and energetically clean physical body in order to ground all of this wonderful energy in the physical plane of existence and achieve the self-mastery that Virgo can bring you. If you want to avoid toxins, cleanse and purify your body, spend time in meditation, maybe do some yoga, and just remember, with all these oppositions to Neptune, those intoxicants have a stronger than usual effect, so you want to avoid those. And I also talked a lot about the revelations that are going on about the deepest, darkest recesses of the pit of hell that's being opened up with regards to the pedophiles and the revelation of adrenochrome, how that fits all into it. And all of this revelation is coming out now. Hopefully, if we get enough people aware of it, some real changes will occur. But I think I just want to move straight on with Monday and get in with the new aspects for this week. So we're going to start with Monday the 10th. Here in the morning, we've got the wonderful moon trine Mars happening early in the morning. So that's lots of physical energy. We're very skillful, able to do what we want and desire to achieve. Lots of energy at the start of the work week. It's very positive energy. Good time for a workout. And then we've got a very short void, of course, till the moon enters Libra. So we're going to be a little bit more in need of balance for the next couple of days. And the moon squares Saturn around noon on Monday. Kind of makes us a bit rigid, hard to warm up to others, and kind of a general feeling of discontent. Not a good time for business. And then in the afternoon on Monday, Mars enters, or I should say re-enters, Aquarius. after that retrograde period, where we'll be until November the 15th. So Mars in Aquarius gives us a sharp mind, motivated by intellectual endeavors, time to break from tradition and adapt to new situations. You know, Aquarius is not stuffy. It likes to break out of any stagnant patterns, ways that you express your ego that are old and worn out. It's like you just don't want to do that anymore. You feel more liberated. Your ego, Mars, is more liberated now and more principled, as well as willing to fight for a cause, help others, be a leader in the community. Mars in Aquarius will challenge authority if the right reason presents itself. And of course, loves to fight right out there in the open where everyone can see, because it's just and it has a good reason. Mars makes a great spiritual warrior in Aquarius. And it looks like Mars has had the right reasons lately to fight. You know, all this stuff that's been brought up. And just like the last time before the retrograde, as soon as Mars enters Aquarius, what do we get? We get a Mars square Uranus. The next pass is going to be next week on the 18th. And this aspect is bringing disruption into our lives, changing a lot of things on a social level, taking us out of the situation so that we can look at it and examine it objectively. On a personal level, we're facing tough challenges in our social lives, shining a light on whatever is not working and causing us to seek innovative solutions to problems in our social group. On a geopolitical level, it's brought both revelations regarding the human rights abusers, as well as all of this internet censorship we're seeing. At the last pass, the issues we have faced are going to reach a conclusion. Okay, so moving along to Tuesday. This will be 9/11, the anniversary of 9/11. So starting in the morning, we've got two great sun aspects in the morning. Lots of creative energy. Should be a very good day. But really it all ties into this Jupiter sextile Pluto. So we'll start with the Sun sextile Jupiter. That will be 18 degrees of Virgo to 18 degrees of Scorpio. This one brings pleasant disposition, feeling lucky and optimistic, maybe a bit lazy and self-indulgent. In these signs, it's a desire for love and sex, desire to merge with others. Opportunistic, looking to make deals, conduct business, make some money. Good time to meet people who could help you advance. Lots of energy, whatever creative endeavor you set your mind to. You just really need to apply yourself with the sextile. And then the trine to Pluto, which will be 18 degrees of Virgo to 18 degrees of Capricorn. So Sun in Virgo gets a boost of energy. All the Pluto trines give us energy. And energy to make progress on our creative projects, make a change for the better in your life. Whenever there's a trine to Pluto, you always want to think of the words change for the better. That's what it is. It brings that reform in your life. It brings ability of intense concentration and attention to details. Lots of stamina. With this aspect, whatever you apply yourself to, you're going to make headway, much like the Sun sextile Jupiter. So the strong Pluto energy today means we have the energy to repair and reform whatever needs fixing in our lives. It also brings powerful energies of persuasion. Folks really feel passionate about something. All that Pluto Scorpio energy, it's very passionate. And they want to share it. Maybe persuade you to go along with their idea, or vice versa. Could bring helpful people into your life, a benefactor, or you could be very helpful to others right now, bringing a change for the better in their world. More capable of finding and working with powerful people, feeling very confident, capable of handling whatever comes at you. Strong bursts of dynamic energy. It needs a productive outlet. In earth signs, we need to build something. Perfect aspect for construction. Could encourage you to make changes to your health regime. Always got to mention that with Virgo. And the Sun connects with that Jupiter sextile aspect in the most wonderful way. It's been going on since January. So, this is like the culmination of your year's efforts. to make some changes in your life. We're at the last pass, and suddenly the sun comes in to shine a light of creative life force energy onto it, and make it center stage in your life. Because sun rules Leo, which is the stage. Time to show it off, display it to the world. So it's a good time for demonstrations of competence and persuading people with your creative talents. Very good at verbal skills and just can be able to speak in a convincing manner. Okay, and I guess we should consider the one moon aspect we're having on Tuesday, moon square Pluto. This one says emotions are stifled in intense currents just below the surface, and you want to avoid emotional entanglements around these kind of squares to Pluto. Although all these beneficial aspects to the sun, that's mostly what we'll be feeling on Tuesday. And then really the Jupiter sextile Pluto, it's happening so early on Wednesday morning. It'll be, we'll feel it all week long, certainly on Monday and Tuesday and then Wednesday as well. So this is the third pass. The first pass was the 15th of January, and then the 14th of April, and now September the 12th. Jupiter in Scorpio is in a time of endings. Okay, it's in the last step, the 12th step in the 12-step process that begins with Sagittarius. So it kind of feels like Pisces, dissolving. In addition, Scorpio is all about the death rebirth process. So it's really been a time of endings for everything related to Jupiter. And it's just been a time of transformation for a lot of these things. Now you'll notice that the news media is ruled by Jupiter, and they certainly are going through a death rebirth process. The mainstream media has become less relevant than the alternative media, overshadowed them in popularity during this time. And I think that's probably the greatest indicator of the Jupiter death cycle that it's going through. And like all Pluto aspects, this one represents an opportunity to reform. In this case, the beneficial quality of the sextile coupled with the growth from Jupiter means opportunity to reform. It's very positive, and we see opportunity to make improvements in our lives. Throughout the course of this year, since January, we see a deep transformation occurring within ourselves and within society. Pluto and Scorpio together ensures that it's going to be a fundamental change for the better, although it's going to be disruptive while going on. We've had all of the energy we need to make these changes, and this transit to your natal chart, you have felt more strongly than others. If this aspect is making transits, I know it has to mine, and it's been really affecting me in a very positive. And along with the death of the credibility of the mainstream media, there have been huge changes in the banking industry as well. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency have become a reality concurrent with this aspect, and there's also been major changes within the Federal Reserve. The era of quantitative easing that was going on basically since the start of the Obama administration, that's ended. The free money printing press has dried up, and the world is well on its way to replacing the US dollar with the SDR basket system supported by Russia and China. But we're not really hearing much about this on the mainstream media, although I found a really good link in the description from econmatters.com. It's a really good article. I know I haven't spoken too much about the money end of all of this, but it really does tie into it, because China has had beneficial aspects with both the Jupiter trine Pluto several years ago and the Jupiter sextile Pluto once again. In both cases, these aspects made concurrent positive transits to their chart, and China took advantage of the situation. And so that was the case again, and I spoke about that in previous videos. But we don't really hear too much about this in the mainstream media, although there have been a lot of changes and reforms in the banking industry concurrent with this Jupiter sextile Pluto all this year. And I just wanted to make sure I pointed that one out. So, getting back to the other aspects we're having still in the morning on Wednesday, Venus opposition Uranus. So, less than 2 hours after the Jupiter sextile Pluto, we got the Venus opposition Uranus. So that'll be 2 degrees of Scorpio to 2 degrees of Taurus. Now, this aspect could bring some surprises into your life. Uranus aspects always tend to do that. Something exciting and maybe something a little bit unpleasant. It all depends on how much you need to break out of stagnant patterns in your relationships and in your dealings with others. Usually it's generally a positive surprise, something that breaks us out of our routine and blows a little fresh air in our face. We are all attracted to something out of the unusual today, something that's a little bit disruptive. So you need to think ahead. And that was another thing I need to mention about Venus now that it's in Scorpio. Venus is in its detriment in Scorpio because Venus, it rules Libra. And Libra is the scales of justice. And Venus thinks, well, if I'm fair and I treat others equally, then I won't have any problems. But that's not the case when it goes into Scorpio, because you're swimming in the deep end in Scorpio, and there's sharks down there, and they don't care if you're fair and innocent. If anything, it makes you more tender and juicy, to the human sharks. So Venus really needs to think ahead, something it usually doesn't do, and anticipate something to go wrong. And that's a general energy we need to adopt over the course of the next few months with Venus and Scorpio. Realize that just because you've been fair doesn't mean you're out of trouble, because you're in Scorpio now and you have to realize you're swimming in the deep end. So you need to think ahead, try and mitigate any problems before they arise, but otherwise could bring some much needed excitement into your life. Now, Venus rules relationships and all one-to-one encounters, so those things are likely to be a source of excitement and maybe some conflict as people present us things we were not expecting, such as maybe unresolved tensions suddenly coming up, forcing you to make an adjustment. Today, a side of ourselves comes out that usually does not. We're obsessed with the unusual, looking to do something out of the norm, brings out strange or out-of-place behavior, hard to settle down, bored with the unusual, looking for a change of pace. Also obsessed with modern technology like the internet. So we might bring a lot of that kind of energy to the forefront. But the misuse of that energy also will come to the forefront. The censorship that we have been seeing, as well as those who use the internet for their own human rights abuses and that kind of stuff. All of that stuff kind of gets really intense today because it's all related to modern technology and the internet and the misuse of it. As well, with regards to relationships, today they're a bit unconventional. Both partners need extra freedom, and those that start today generally are not meant to last. Venus opposition its ruling sign of Taurus brings issues regarding Taurus to point of climax, where some issues in your life may need to be addressed. Something in your life may come up that needs to be addressed. And any existing issues regarding money, personal possessions, or your personal values, anything that's not satisfactory along those ends may come up, causing you to attend to them. You may decide to confront someone who has violated you in some way, someone who has stolen from you, taken from you unjustly, denied you your personal freedom. Well, if you do, just be sure to prepare beforehand so you can deal with whatever comes up without causing further harm in your life. In geopolitics, I'm really excited about this and what it means for the revelations of the human rights abusers. Venus in Scorpio is ready to strike back and take police action against those who have violated their personal integrity and personal space. That's going to come from all this Uranus and Mars energy coming into Venus now while it's in Scorpio. Gives it lots of courage. Okay, the opposition is going to bring issues to a head. First a meeting, then a conflict, then resolution, then ultimately awareness. That's kind of the stages of the opposition. And I'm hoping that this aspect will greatly increase public awareness on this issue. Bring it to the forefront of public disclosure. Maybe even some event forces the mainstream media to cover a story related to all this. Or even better, we start to see some arrests made. Maybe sealed indictments are unsealed along with this one. Because that's the kind of thing that could come to the surface now. So that's really exciting. And just to add to the Scorpio energy, we got Moon entering Scorpio on Wednesday morning. And actually I should mention there's a void of course that starts on Tuesday afternoon around 4 p.m. and that'll continue all the way until the late morning on Wednesday when the Moon enters Scorpio. So we're more sensitive, intense for the next couple of days. Adds to the mix. A bit more reserved as well. Time for emotional death and rebirth, aka regeneration. So some stuff comes up in the process, but it's always for the better. Makes us more focused and determined. You know, Moon in Scorpio doesn't like to lose their dignified side. They always like to remain very dignified and not show any weaknesses. And then, soon after Moon enters Scorpio, what do we got? Moon square Mars. Very soon after. So the Moon get caught up in the Mars square Uranus aspect around midday because we're going to have the square to Mars and then the opposition to Moon. So things are going to get a little testy around midday with the Moon aspects. Some volatile energy. Not a good time for social or business endeavors. People are a bit paranoid, worried a secret could be revealed and hurt their reputation. Could be ego battles with Mars square Scorpio. And then the Moon opposition Uranus a little bit later. That one brings disruptions, attraction to the unusual. So we're having Moon and Venus opposition Uranus around the same time. So that's going to bring, add a lot to that energy. Both feminine planets are getting a lot of courage, power, and determination from these square to Mars and opposition to Uranus. Okay? And can't seem to get something off your mind. Obsessed with something that's bothering you. It may be time to disconnect if things get too intense for you. Try and seek an innovative solution to your psychological issues or to your money problems or whatever personal issues are coming up now. And you really want to avoid emotional entanglements. A lot of folks will probably just be going off. And then in the midst of all this, we have this very pleasant Moon conjunct Venus. And that one might bring a little pleasant respite from the previous Moon aspects. It's going to make us very intuitive and psychic. So, feminine energy is just going to be really intense on this day. So, the Moon sextile Saturn, that one's really good for therapy and brings some valuable insight. And it's nice that it adds to the Venus sextile Saturn. Because that means, despite all of this chaos going on, authority, Saturn, is in a great position, a dynamic position, with the trines and the sextiles to make really creative changes. Now, this particular Venus aspect is probably one of the least dynamic of Venus aspects. It gives us a sense of duty and responsibility, and we feel good about attending to everyday mundane affairs, realizing that there's always a payoff in the long run, even if there's no reward today. Hence, it brings stability and certainty into your life, especially in relationships, more apt to attend to them under this influence. We're more traditional. And so relationships are more stable. Easy to stay focused in the present moment. Saturn gives us that ability, so we can just live in the present moment with an eye towards success. comfortable just doing what you need to do without getting praise. We're receptive towards business partnerships, but I would caution against starting new partnerships or business ventures with this opposition to Uranus going on concurrently. The nice thing about this aspect is that it acts as a restraining force on the volatile opposition, which may prevent too much chaos from going on. Prevent the chaos. And in geopolitics, it looks like authority seizes an opportunity to make gains. Recall that when Venus conjuncted Saturn, that was on December 25th, Christmas Day. And this was right at the start of the new Saturn cycle, right around the time of that executive order to arrest the human rights abusers was enacted. So now we're at the sextile, and an opportunity to forward the agenda of the conjunction will arrive. That's the way it always works. Something starts at the conjunction, and then it goes through a cycle based on the aspects. So now we're getting the first aspect, the sextile, and that means an opportunity to forward that agenda. It creates, the opposition creates imbalance, kind of sets Venus off of balance, but in this case, the imbalance that is created creates a corresponding opportunity for authority. So it looks really good for Trump to make a move against the pedophiles and human rights abusers. As I mentioned last week, the Saturn direct period that we just entered will now bring progress for the new authority that was established on December the 21st of last year with the executive order that is basically the order to bring down the deep state and the cabal. Okay, so that's a lot already for this week. We're just getting to Thursday. So starting in the early afternoon, we have a couple of really nice aspects with Moon sextile Mercury and Moon trine Neptune. This is really good. The sextile Mercury gives us an analytical mind, as well as interested in psychology and in-depth analysis. And then shortly thereafter, the Moon trine Neptune makes us very sensitive and able to heal psychological wounds, find resolution, a good time for meditation, and also this is very true for the next aspect as well, and that'll be the Mercury opposition Neptune planetary aspect we're having today. So I just wanted to point out that in particular, on Thursday in the early afternoon, if you're one of those people who is doing work on yourself, self-healing, whatever it is, meditation, art therapy, could be a million things. This is really one of the very best times of the month to be doing it. You've got the Moon in Scorpio trying Neptune in Pisces, water signs, and the Scorpio to Pisces trine is all about healing psychological wounds and finding resolution. So with the sextile to Mercury added into the mix, it really brings the conscious mind into the same focus, and that of course all adds to the Mercury opposition Neptune, which also gives us that spiritual connection. So in particular, around 1 to 2 p.m. on Thursday afternoon, try to go into meditation or whatever work that you do for self-healing. And now we're getting to the aspect Mercury opposition Neptune. And that one will be 14 degrees, almost 15 degrees of Virgo to 14 degrees of Pisces. So beliefs, superstitions, and things you don't see, all of that stuff relating to Neptune interferes with conscious mental processes. That is to say, comes to meet and is balanced with conscious mental processes. So the normal filters on the conscious mind are removed, and the result is you're connected to everything, okay? The whole sea of humanity. Too much information. You're not sure what to do with it all. You're kind of looking for the spiritual reasons for why things are the way they are. It can bring a little naivete at first and some confusion, and that is to say, it fuses or brings together two worlds, the physical and the non-physical. So this can lead to some really interesting insights, but it also leads to delusional thinking, very idealistic, because Neptune has no boundaries. It's kind of nothing to stop the conscious mind from moving far beyond the boundaries of rationality and practicality, which can be really good sometimes. I mean, we really all need that because we're so caught up in the mundane world. It's so nice to get that opposition to Neptune once in a while to bring in that whole non-physical spiritual side of things. It brings an interest in poetry and art. We're much more sensitive. We want to delve into fantasy and look for the subtle meaning in things. Impressions become more important than rational words. We're more open to communication with the spirit world, angels and fairies and nature spirits, things of that type. Basically looking beyond the mundane material world for information and things that we've missed. Also keeps the mind very active. So that should be kind of an interesting energy thrown into the mix with all of this other stuff. We may get a lot of revelations and really cause us to go into a time of contemplation on Thursday. Nonetheless, even if we don't, it is a good time for doing that, going into meditation and getting a lot of valuable spiritual insight. And with regards to the mundane world, it's really not a good time to sign contracts or make agreements because inevitably something is unclear or missing, you don't see something. And then in the evening on Thursday, we've got a couple of really great moon aspects. Bring a lot of great energy to Thursday evening, starting with moon sextile Pluto. So moon is basically caught up in the Jupiter sextile Pluto on Thursday evening. So intense emotions, purging excessive emotional baggage, regenerate and repair around the home environment. And shortly thereafter, moon conjunct Jupiter. Now this is very positive, gives us a very pleasant attitude, very expansive on the emotions. And in the midst of this intense emotions with the moon sextile Pluto, I would think a real desire to reach out and connect with others. Makes us very psychic. Lots of healing energy. All that stuff I talked about with regards to alternative healing modalities. All of that really comes into play. We're very emotionally comfortable with that and very receptive to it during this time. So it could be a very healing and sincere Thursday night. Okay, moving into Friday, the 14th. We'll start in the middle of the night with the moon sextile Sun. It's always a creative time when inhibitions subside and we can relate to one another better. And then we've got a void of course that's going to last from early in the morning until the early evening, basically the late afternoon, I should say, when the moon enters Sagittarius. So Friday is not going to be a day to start new things during the day while that long void of course is going on. And moon enters Sagittarius in the early evening. Good time for social gatherings, as folks are more warm and generous. Basically just in time for Friday night festivities, I guess. We're more optimistic and idealistic for the next couple of days. And during this time, we think about the greater possibilities in life, expanding. So we're interested in philosophy, travel, and foreigners. Also more spontaneous and not as interested in work, unless it stimulates your higher aspirations in life. And then a really great aspect for Friday evening, the moon sextile Mars. Should get folks on the dance floor because, Sagittarius likes to stretch and Aquarius likes to move your body in new ways. So it's a very energetic and fun aspect for a Friday evening. It's also, I have found, an excellent aspect for yoga, because stretching and moving your body in new and enlightening ways is kind of what yoga is all about. Lots of physical energy to help you enjoy your physical body. So it's a great aspect for social gatherings. perfect for Friday evening. Okay, moving along into the weekend. It's a weekend for Mercury lovers. We're starting with Mercury trine Pluto, and this is actually going to be on Saturday in the early evening, and that'll be 18 degrees of Virgo to 18 degrees of Capricorn. And it will seem similar to the Sun trine Pluto in Tuesday, same signs. In particular, the part about powerful energies of persuasion. Folks feel really passionate about something and want to share it, maybe persuade you to go along with their idea or vice versa. That's even stronger today. Generally speaking, whenever we get a Mercury-Pluto combination, we become more aware of the power of our words. We use them only when it is to our advantage and remain silent the rest of the time. With the trine, it doesn't look so reserved, though. It comes out in a better way. Generally speaking, we're more aware of the undercurrents of energy around us and adjust accordingly, able to communicate with more passion and conviction and competence, which could attract powerful people. Excellent aspect for making a convincing argument or speech. Strong mental focus. Excellent for any task that requires painstaking attention to detail. In Earth signs, we're really focused on achievement, success, living in the present moment. Single-minded focus towards our goal. Letting nothing distract you. Just really good for that mental focus. So you want to make headway on whatever project you're working on today. It's really just good for making progress. And a strong Pluto energy today means we have the energy to repair and reform whatever needs fixing in our lives. Feeling very confident, capable of handling whatever challenge comes at you. Could encourage you to make changes to your health regime, just like with the Sun. A strong burst of dynamic energy needs a productive outlet. In Earth signs, we need to build something, perfect some aspect, a perfect aspect for construction, but also to perfect some aspect of yourself. Make a change for the better in your thinking. This weekend, both Mercury aspects connect with the Jupiter sextile Pluto, again in the most wonderful way, bringing lots of conscious attention to whatever this Jupiter sextile Pluto has represented in your life this year. So whatever constructive changes you have been working on since January will be affected by both of these sets of aspects this week. So whatever that is, it's going to take center stage in your life at this time. You're going to be thinking about it. With regards to health, today would be a great day to make a change for the better to your health regime, and this is just one of the great aspects to Virgo we've been getting lately. So there must be a strong upsurge, I'm thinking, in the world, and folks getting healthier these days, going to the health food stores and changing their diet for the better. It's also a very good time for business, as Mercury rules business transactions. So overall, a great aspect for Mercury lovers. And then later in the evening on Saturday, Moon square Neptune. So in these signs, we expand a lot because Sagittarius expands and Neptune has no boundaries. So emotions kind of go over the deep end. We really kind of want to reach out. It makes us very idealistic, easily persuaded and gullible, as well as desire to escape into fantasy. And moving along to Sunday, the 16th, starting out early in the morning, we've got the next Mercury aspect, making this a weekend for Mercury lovers. So this one will be 19 degrees of Virgo to 19 degrees of Scorpio, Mercury sextile Jupiter. This aspect brings forth your native Mercury talents. So whatever communication skills that you have, whatever it is related to Mercury, your conscious mind, things with your hand, all of that stuff, whatever it is, it's going to be bigger and better, because that's what Jupiter does. So they shine brighter and they seem better than usual, bigger and better than usual. So desire to express yourself verbally or in writing, basically express the talents that you have. Better at drawing and design, using your hands for that kind of thing. more able to connect the dots and see the big picture, to think big, very optimistic, looking to learn about new things and grow a bit, expand your awareness, more interested in philosophy, and show the world what you can do with your Mercury talents. It's another great aspect for making a convincing speech as well. So there you go, another great Mercury aspect to round out this week with so many aspects. All seem to be surrounding this Jupiter sextile Pluto. And we've got a couple of more aspects to consider for Sunday in the morning. We're getting a moon square Mercury, and that one, emotions interfere with normal communication. Not sure if you should expand or analyze the situation. That's the Virgo to Sagittarius square, which is the same signs for the first quarter moon, which will be in the afternoon on Sunday. Moon in Sag square Sun in Virgo. The usual crisis for fulfillment at the squares. In this case, you need to overcome worry and hesitation. Worry is kind of a negative side of Virgo. And the constant need to analyze and perfect something before moving forward. And that's what happens with the square from Virgo to Sagittarius. We're constantly analyzing, constantly perfecting, that we forget to grow and expand and move forward. So you've got to kind of know when enough is enough. All right, so that's it for the aspects for this week. Now I wanted to bring up the chart of George H.W. Bush. You know, over the last few weeks, I've seen the synchronicity with the the transit Neptune square Jupiter, with the deaths of Aretha Franklin and John McCain. And somebody in the alternative media was pointing out that George Bush is set to die this week. You know, like McCain, they're going to pretend it was by natural causes, but really, he's being executed or forced suicide like McCain. And I came across George Bush, and I went, wow, look at him. He's also getting Neptune square Jupiter. Neptune currently at 15 degrees, 5 minutes of Pisces, and it's Jupiter at 1412 of Sag. It's still yet to have 2 more passes at the Neptune square Jupiter, so that's ongoing. And then I noticed that on Friday, September the 7th, he's also getting the transit Jupiter square Neptune. You see that 1808 Scorpio to 1808 Leo. So I thought, wow, Neptune square Jupiter and Jupiter square Neptune at the same time. And we've seen the obvious synchronicity with these transits in the recent past. A lot of it having to do with the Jupiter trine Neptune, which is a time of letting go. And here he is connected to both of those planets amidst that trine. So I thought, wow, this is one I really want to point out to my viewers. Maybe this is his time. Of course, he is in many ways the ringleader of the deep state. He's been around the longest. He's had, he's dirtied his hands with more things than I think any of them. So this could be it for him. Just wanted to give a shout out to my viewers on that one. Okay, so that's all for this week. You can check out my website, tomsocalm.com, and I want to thank you to my subscribers and my supporters. You'll find donations for Patreon and PayPal in the lower right-hand corner of the flower image on my channel homepage. You can follow me on Twitter, TomJordan364, or contact me if you're interested in a natal or transit reading. I love to use astrology as a tool for life coaching. And I'm now a Reiki Master Teacher. So if you're interested in a long-distance Reiki healing or a psychic reading, please contact me at mobilestar7@yahoo.com or my weblog where I post the transcript of these weekly videos. Links will be in the description. Well, that's all this week for Weekly Astrology Notes. Once again, thanks for viewing, liking, and sharing my video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Many blessings, and have a great day.